So let's talk about your 401k, guys. Here's the thing. I think you probably are getting ripped off with your 401k. Now, I'm not saying that you should get rid of your 401k, pull your money out. I'm not even saying stop putting money into it, right? The thing that I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to what your 401k is doing, right? The number one thing that's going to kill your retirement is not taxes, but it's the fees that you're paying to Wall Street. A lot of times people have traded the tax man, the IRS, for Wall Street, and they're paying Wall Street more than they would pay the tax man. And that bothers me so very much. So let me break this down for you. If you went and bought a whole bunch of random individual stocks, enough to say that you're well diversified, and they pay you a dividend, and that dividend rate is, 2% or so on average, because some stocks won't pay any dividend and some stocks will pay more and blah, 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 right? But we'll say a 2% dividend on average, because that seems to be the average yield of the S&P 500. So what ends up happening here? Well, you end up getting 2% on your money in the form of a dividend, which you'll end up having to pay taxes on. Now, you'll end up having to pay 15% of that 2%, which where I come from is 0.3%. All right. So that's how much you would pay on your portfolio in a fully taxable account if you just threw money into individual stocks and bought those things and held on to them and had no fees. No fees, 0.3% is going out the door every year in taxes. Now, when you look at your 401k, if you're sitting there paying 0.5, 0.6% in fees, you are paying Wall Street more than you would pay in taxes just buying stupid stocks, right? That's the thing that really, really, really bothers me. It's one of those things that's like, hey, guys, pay freaking attention. And here's the thing. Every time that I come along and I tell somebody, hey, you're probably getting ripped off in your 401k, I get yelled at, right? I get yelled at because your 401k is sacrosanct. Right? How dare I talk about that because you are getting a tax break? But I'm sitting here doing math, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm just saying, hey, pay attention to how much the fees that you're getting charged in your 401k are, because you might give up all of your tax benefits plus some, right? So that's all that I'm saying when I say 401k is likely to be a scam. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, guys, if your 401k is a scam, don't put money into it, right? Look at the options in your 401k, pick the lowest one, right? And I think it kind of makes sense to go out into the world and buy investments inside of a tax advantaged account, as long as you're getting the tax benefit, right? If you're not getting the tax benefit, there's no reason to put money into your 401k, right? The only reason why you would is to pick up the match. And so my advice ends up being sort of a weird piece of advice across the financial industry, because I'm not part of the financial industry. I'm just a guy that does math with a calculator, right? Or I do simulations with a computer sometimes, but that's a different story. But the fact of the matter is that I'm sitting here and I'm going, guys, the math says don't put your money into this particular investment. It's a bad choice. Now, if you can get into a low-cost index fund inside of a tax-advantaged account, that's what you should do, right? It's not rocket science. If you have $100,000 saved up and you are paying, 0.02% or whatever it happens to be the case in terms of the amount of money that you're paying in fees because you're in a low-cost index fund, great. Your 401k is not a scam, right? But if you're buying like a targeted index date fund or something like that, and your expense ratio happens to be something absurd like 0.5%, 0.6%, all of a sudden you've given up every single one of your benefits for your 401k. It's not going to work. You are not going to retire super duper wealthy, right? You're probably be better off than most people because you actually did save money, but you gave up all of your tax benefits plus some. And I'm just sitting here going, guys, pay attention. That's it. Pay attention, right? Even if you bought stuff that yielded 3-4%, you'd be talking 0.45, 0.6% in taxes every year. You're breaking even with the tax man, right? You are breaking even in your 401k. It's not giving you any benefit. And in those situations, your 401k is probably a scam. Now, you probably get the employer match, and that's probably fine. If you don't have any good options, that's probably what I would recommend that you do. I would recommend that you just pick up the employer match and then any other saving that you want to do it in a fully taxable account. And the reason why is if you don't have a low-cost index fund option, first of all, you should be calling up your HR department demanding to know why not, right? Like, why don't I have this as an option? But the next thing that you need to do is you probably need to get your money out of that crappy account that's going to lock it up, right? In those situations, there is value to being liquid, right? And I don't think that this is a conversation that's incredibly sophisticated. I'm just saying, pay attention to your fees. Right? Pay attention to your fees. That's all that I'm saying is if you pay attention to those fees, it might not make sense to put very much money into your 401k. That's all that I'm saying. It's very, very, very simple, right? And so we're sitting here and we're going, hey, don't put money in your 401k if it doesn't make sense because Wall Street's ripping you off. Like, pay attention to that sort of thing. Because, let's be honest, that whole Occupy Wall Street thing that happened in 2009, 2010, 2011, you remember that? You remember that? That was people getting pissed off about Wall Street. And you're saying they're shoveling money at them, right? I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but I'm saying it's happening. And if you're not paying attention, it's probably happening to you too, right? And so you need to look and pay attention. And if you are in one of those categories where you are getting hosed by Wall Street, you need to stop putting money in there and you need to start putting it into something that's either an IRA or a liquid account, right? That's what you need to do. Right? There's so much value in being liquid. And I have this conversation with people all the time. Like, oh, I'm saving as much money as I can in my 401k. I'm putting 20% in there. Okay. Even if you're not, right? Even if you are not getting hosed in that situation, does it still make sense to put that much money in your 401k? Because there is life that happens. I applaud you, right? I applaud you for saving 20% of your income. But does it still make sense when, the 401k is not a super great vehicle because of the fees? Right? Maybe you should be saving some of that in a taxable account. And I know that's heresy. I get it. It's heresy to say, hey, don't do it in a tax advantage account. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, what happens if you lose your job, right? What happens if you lose your job tomorrow? Are you going to pull that money out of your 401k and take the 10% penalty? What? Along with the taxes that are due? What? No, don't do that, right? Please do not do that. You probably need to make invest. I think there's a 3-stool system to your retirement savings. You need your 401k, you need your IRAs, preferably Roths. That's my preference, right? Roth 401k, Roth IRA. And then you need your taxable account. And you go, whoa, Ryan, everything that you just said is taxable today. Why would I want to do that? And here is the reason why you would want to do that. Because it is not taxable when it's time to take the profits, right? In the Roth 401k and the Roth IRA. Now, I get it. Some people don't have the Roth 401k option available to them. They should just do the regular 401k up to the match and then move over to the Roth IRA. Right? That's fine. I get it. You take your match, whatever it happens to be, and go forward. Right? But I'm sitting here going, everything, do it in the taxable today and don't get taxed tomorrow. And there's reasons why you would or wouldn't want to do that. But the big reason for me is that it is about preserving principal at retirement time, right? You won't have to pull as much money because it's all tax-free money at that point. And because it's tax-free money at that point, right, when you're pulling it out, you don't have to pull as much out to cover the taxes. And now you're sitting in a much better position because you're not pulling as much money and you're preserving your capital and continuing to let it grow and progress. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with putting money into a taxable account, but life happens. You probably want to have a liquid investment account just so that you can deal with life, right? I'm not talking just about, whatever, right? If you had an account with $1 million throwing off 4% a year, right, you'd be throwing off $40,000 a year in terms of taxable dividend income, right? And I get it, $40,000 isn't a lot of money in today's day and age, but counterpoint, you would have $40,000 coming in every, over the course of the year in terms of dividend income. And frankly, if you lost your job, $40,000 paycheck coming from your investment accounts isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. So here's where I land. Is your 401k actually a scam? Probably not if you have some good index fund options that are low cost, low fees, right? You could probably get something with an expense ratio that makes sense to put money into a 401k. However, there's a significant portion of people out there with really crazy 401k fees, and you need to be careful. Period. Just pay attention. Do the math. It's not hard. It's just multiplying a couple of numbers together. If you're watching this, you have access to a computer or a smartphone, right? I guarantee there's some sort of calculator app. You're just multiplying two percentages together, right? Your yield against the tax rate. That's it. And then you can calculate how much of your expense ratio is actually just Wall Street pretending to be the IRS. And make those comparisons. And if you do have low cost funds, buy those. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Matter of fact, I put money into my 401k, right? And I don't bother with it, right? It's just in an index fund, and I do put money in there. And I'll be honest with you, a good chunk of my net worth is in that 401k, and it is in index funds, right? I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm telling you to be careful. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to say today about the 401k issue. Hit the bell, subscribe, and guys, just pay attention to what's going on out there, because investing is already hard enough when you don't have somebody reaching into your back pocket. Hopefully it's just they're not taking too much, right? Hopefully Wall Street's not taking too much. Hopefully the tax man's not taking too much. Until next time, stay rational, my friends.